Hi, welcome to FilmSauce. I'm FilmSauce, and in this Sauce video, I'm looking at The Wizard of Oz, a very iconic film mixed with joy, whimsy, dangers, and a very flawed production. Seriously, the production of this film was horrible. The film is based off the Wizard of Oz books written by L. Frank Baum, and during production, The Wizard of Oz had a whopping 5 directors, beginning production with Norman Torog, then continuing with Richard Thorpe, George Cukor, Victor Fleming, who directed most of the film, but he was replaced by King Vidor, who completed the film. Working on the screenplay, there was 3 writers, Noel Langley, Florence Ryerson, and Edgar Allan Wolfe. The Wizard of Oz shows the story of Dorothy and her dog who were swept up from a tornado and land in the land of Oz. And Dorothy must find the wizard to send her back home. Now slip on some comfy ruby slippers, drink some water without melting, and relax to FilmSauce's Wizard of Oz. The movie now begins with an MGM logo. Yeah, fuck you MGM. We roll through the title cards and credits because, yes kids, back in my day, movies started with the credits. But bloody hell, they credit everyone with their real names, but the singer midgets, who betrayed the Munchkins, and they were credited as the Munchkins. I mean, yes, in the end credits they're credited, but still. Now we open the movie to the Kansas landscape, and yes, it is true. If you wander into Kansas, everything will have this brown color. We see 2 of our heroes run onto the screen. The iconic dog Toto, who is credited as being played by Toto, even though the dog was played by a female dog called Terry. And here we have our main character, Dorothy, played by Judy Garland, original name Frances Gum, who had the worst time on this set, which I will go in more detail about later. Dorothy is running home after off-screen, her dog Toto was running amok, chasing a neighbor's cat. This neighbor, Miss Gutch, is now threatening to get the sheriff involved. Dorothy now goes around her farm, chilling with the farmhands Zeke, Hunk, and Hickory, and no one will listen to Dorothy about her fears of Miss Gutch, so she breaks out into possibly the most iconic song in this film, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And while Dorothy sings her heart out, indulge in my cool facts. The songs for The Wizard of Oz was composed by Harold Arlen, and lyrics were by E.Y. Harburg. And these 2 won an Academy Award for Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Judy Garland, on the other hand, had a long history of singing. When she was 6, she was in a traveling show. Judy's mother, Ethel Gum, had later on gotten Judy a contract with MGM, allowing them to control Judy's whole life, putting her on drugs and extreme diets, which included 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Now Miss Gutch is coming on the farm declaring she will take Toto to the sheriff for the dog to be destroyed. Yes, she used the word destroyed for, killing the dog.
I'm taking him to the sheriff and make sure he's destroyed.
But Miss Gutch has an order from the sheriff, so Toto is given away to be destroyed. Because Dorothy's caregivers, Auntie Em and Uncle Henry, played by Clara Blandick and Charlie Grapewin, refused to go against the law. Because you better believe if they dare refuse to give Toto away to be destroyed, Batman would appear to break every bone in their bodies. Gutch rides away with Toto, who kind of just leaves. It's laughable how easy he escapes, but he returns to Dorothy, who decides to run away, where she runs into this professor, who reads out of a crystal bowl describing Dorothy's house and Auntie Em. But no, it's not magic. He just took a glance at a picture of Dorothy had. The professor now infers that Auntie Em is deathly sick, so Dorothy runs home, with a storm brewing. The storm quickly summons a tornado, which was made with a black stocking in a wind tunnel. Everyone on the farm retreats into a shelter, leaving Dorothy behind, who runs into the house and is promptly knocked out by a broken window. The tornado picks up the house with Dorothy in it, and she sees some wacky stuff outside the window, including Miss Gutch, who transforms into the Wicked Witch of the East. The house now softly lands on the ground, and Dorothy goes to leave the house, opening the door into a colourful world of Oz. And how did they do that color trick? They painted the house and the actress, of course. Dorothy explores this village, saying some iconic lines.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
When a glowing orb appears, which blips into existence the Witch of the North, Glinda, played by Billy Burke, who reveals to Dorothy that the house, when falling from the sky, squashed the Wicked Witch of the East. Now the Munchkins reveal themselves for a musical number. And like I said before, the Munchkins are betrayed by the singer midgets from Europe. Many of these singer midgets were actually Jewish and took their chance to stay in America, fleeing Germany and its funny mustache man. But there are also claims that some of the Munchkin actors would grope 16-year-old Judy Garland. It's yikes. The music number is now interrupted with a puff of red smoke. The Wicked Witch of the West is here, played by the wonderful Margaret Hamilton, who also played Miss Gutch in the Wicked Witch of the East. The witch is understandably angry that her sister witch is dead, and when she goes to retrieve her late sister's ruby slippers, they disappear, teleporting onto Dorothy's feet. The ruby slippers are actually slightly different from the book, however, as the slippers were silver, but who cares about that? These are more iconic. The witch now threatens Dorothy, and it's funny to think that Judy Garland had such a hard time acting scared of Margaret Hamilton because she was just such a nice person. But she comes off believable enough. The witch now leaves in a burst of flame, and on another take of the scene, Margaret Hamilton actually got caught on the fire and suffered third-degree burns. Oh God, this is a nightmare. Dorothy wants to find a way back to Kansas, so Glinda tells her to find the Wizard of Oz by following the yellow brick road. Dorothy, following the yellow brick road, comes upon a split path and hears a voice. That voice belongs to the Scarecrow. Not that Scarecrow, this Scarecrow, played by Ray Bolger, who also played farmhand Hunk. Scarecrow talks about how he has no brain and how he is stuck to a post. Dorothy frees him, and the Scarecrow goes into a musical number. Afterwards, he decides to join Dorothy on going to the wizard for a brain. After a quick detour of having apples thrown at the door, Dorothy finds a Tin Man, frozen in place. Dorothy and Scarecrow Tin Man up, allowing him to talk and move. The Tin Man is played by Jack Haley, who also played the farmhand Hickory. Jack Haley wasn't actually originally hired to be the Tin Man. The role was given to Buddy Ebsen, but due to an allergic reaction to the aluminum powder makeup, he couldn't actually act in the project. The Tin Man now explains how he is heartless and breaks into a musical number, and afterwards he decides to join in on going to the wizard to gain a heart. The Wicked Witch now appears, does some shenanigans and leaves. And in this scene, there is a rumor in the background that there is a munchkin hanging itself. And yeah, it's not true. It's just a rumor. The trio now enter a very spooky forest where they all are all afraid of lions, tigers, and bears. That they keep yelling those animals' names out until a lion appears. And this lion attacks everyone, but it's revealed that this is all a show, as this lion is the Cowardly Lion, played by Bert Lahr, who, you guessed it, also played one of the farmhands, Zeke. The lion talks about how he has no bravery, and he decides to join the trio to find the wizard, get courage. Except the witch is also watching all the four in a crystal ball, and she decides to do a witch's curse over some poppies to put the heroes to sleep. The heroes are now in sight of the wizard's home, Emerald City. They run through the poppies, which make Dorothy, Toto, and the lion so tired they all fall asleep. The Scarecrow and Tin Man begin calling for help. Glinda just appears, and she begins doing magic. And it starts raining down some magic snow that wakes the heroes up. But NGM obviously had no magic snow lying around, so they dropped asbestos on the actors. The heroes now finally reach Emerald City, and after some convincing, they are let into the city for another musical number. The costumes for this movie are actually really good, but there was a problem with the lions, which was made out of real lion skin, weighed 90 pounds and would make Bert last sweat so much that two people's job on set was just to dry the costume. The heroes try to meet the wizard, and after another musical number, they are denied. But with some crying from Dorothy, the guard feels so bad he starts crying from his brows and lets them see the Once wizard. In the wizard's lair, a big green version of Megamind's head appears and bullies all the boys for being brainless, heartless, and a coward. But he agrees to grant all their wishes if they bring the witch's broom to him. So the heroes traverse through the haunted forest to the witches. And holy hell, who gave this brainless scarecrow a gun? The witch now decides to send the flying monkeys to attack the heroes, and she tells the monkeys that she sent like insects ahead, which doesn't make sense. Originally there was a deleted scene where insects like attack the heroes, but it's deleted, so this line doesn't really make sense in the context of just the film. The monkeys flying down, and to make the flying effect, the actors were tied to piano strings, which would sometimes break, dropping the actors. This goddamn movie. The monkeys swiftly captured Dorothy and Toto, dragging them to the witch's castle. Now in possession of Dorothy, figures the only way to get the slippers is to have Dorothy killed. Toto escapes and finds the boys, leading them to the castle. The boys do get ambushed by the witch's guard, however, but in a fadeaway fight, it is revealed the boys won and have stolen the guard's uniform. The boys continue to follow Toto and find Dorothy. They attempt to escape but are seen. There is a short chase scene which ends with Dorothy and the boys cornered by the witch and a guard. The witch lights her broom on fire and lights the scarecrow on fire. And apparently this was a very hard scene for Margaret Hamilton to film. She just did not want to put the scarecrow on fire. Anyway, the witch lights the scarecrow on fire, making Dorothy grab a bucket of water, throwing it over the scarecrow. But the water also hits the witch, who begins to melt. Terrifying screams. But if you're like deathly allergic to water, why do you have water in your castle? The guard are all very happy that the witch is dead, and they give Dorothy the witch's broom. The film cuts back to the gang, who give the wizard the broom, but the wizard denies the gang their gifts until tomorrow, making everyone sad but Toto, who unveils a man behind the curtain, who is the wizard, played by Frank Morgan, who also played the professor at the start of the wizard decides to do well and give the gang their gifts. He gives Scarecrow a diploma, and he does some math equation that he answers wrong, so Scarecrow still has straw instead of a brain. The Lion gets a Medal of Courage, and the Tin Man gets a watch in a heart shape. But where is Dorothy's gift? The wizard decides to take Dorothy to Kansas himself. There is a whole ceremony in Emerald City for Dorothy, Toto's, and the wizard's departure. But Toto jumps off the hot air balloon, which was taking them to Kansas, and Dorothy chases after the dog. And the wizard, in the balloon, floats away, leaving Dorothy in the land of Oz. Glinda now appears, telling Dorothy she had the power to go back home the whole time, and you may be thinking, why didn't Glinda tell Dorothy before? Well, Glinda says because Dorothy wouldn't have believed her. That's bullshit. Anyway, Dorothy says a heartfelt goodbye and follows Glinda's instructions by tapping the slippers together and saying there is no place like home. Now Dorothy is back in the shit-stained state of Kansas with the human version of the boys, the professor, Uncle Henry, and Auntie Em. But the whole movie was written off as a dream, which is different to the book, and there was actually a second ending where she had a ruby slippers still on. But that was scrapped, I guess. And this is the ending we have. That was FilmSauce's Wizard of Oz. And I guess it is time to do my rating in the source points. Okay, so I figure I'll just knock off everything great about this film first. First of all the performances were amazing, especially Margaret Hamilton. The witch is amazing. The costumes, despite some shortcomings, looked amazing. The musical numbers are so good, especially Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And with my dislikes of the story is how a lot of the scenes were cut, making a few lines or scenes not make sense or feel messy. This film is also a musical, but the last 30 minutes had no musical number. But overall, I would rate this film a 7.8 out of 10 on the Source points. MGM, on the other hand, and their flawed production full of dangers, sexual assault, sickness, and overall inhumane actions, yeah, 0 out of 10. Just zilch. Nana. 0. Anyway, that's FilmSauce out. Like, subscribe, comment, and get hyped for my next video where I go back to the 1930s for Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark.